Hi, I'm Scott Amos. I'm co-head of studio of Crystal Dynamics. We're here in New York showing off the PS Pro version of Rise of the Tomb Raider.
So let's talk a little about 4K and how you guys are able to bring that to life for a console for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, this was a great experience of saying we have all these beautiful high-res assets that we make, but we haven't been able to show them in this way on any console previously. So being able to take all that art, put it together, and put together a version like this, we're suddenly showing off the power of the Neo, and being able to show off just these beautiful long-range vistas. You'll see some of this over my shoulder, but being able to just get these crisp details that we'd never seen before. One of my favorite stories is even our own brand guy came in and said, look at all this new stuff, these explosions off in the distance have debris coming out of them. Well, the debris was always there, but you couldn't see it before. So this is actually for us being able to snap into that version, that high 4K version for Neo, suddenly for Pro. Now you can actually see this stuff that's been in there all this time, but we hadn't had a chance to show it yet.
Now, that's one of the advantages of having a PC version of this type of game, right?
Well, it's basically the way we develop, right? We think about making these assets at the highest resolution always, and then saying, how do we put them onto the right platform and maximize every platform's potential? So for us, being able to look at this and say, we know what it takes to make high-res, great-looking stuff. We've done it for a long time, so it's really fun to be able to show it off on console at 30 frames in 4K.
Can you break down the 3 new things you guys are kind of showcasing when it comes to this technology?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we have in the options menu, you can actually switch real time through 3 different viewing modes. So we actually have, for people with a 1080 screen, we actually have a 1080 high frame rate mode. So it's locked at 1080p, but the frame rate is unlocked. So we've seen frame rate north of 45 frames per second, and we compromise, like we'll turn off certain renderings or certain lighting and materials, but you have this very seamless, very smooth, great, kind of the speedrunners version if you want to get through something really quickly. Real time, you can snap over to what we call enhanced visuals mode. Enhanced visuals is when we lock it at 30 frames, again at 1080p, but we turn everything on. Everything we can think of from materials and rendering and shading, denser pixels, more foliage, anything we can do to make this amazing looking great 1080p version. And then finally we have the 4K resolution, where you can snap up and you get that stunning vistas for people who have a 4K TV at 30 frames.
Can you give us a sense, because a lot of people still haven't made the upgrade to 4K yet, of just how big of a jump it is?
It's, well, you have to have the TV to go with it, right? So that's always the good thing. So, I mean, 1080 is great, right? We've seen it for a while now. People are used to high def, and you think of, that's a beautiful looking screen. When you start seeing on 4K, particularly looking at these beautiful Sony screens we have here, it's game changing. It's something that I love it. Like, it's one of the things we have the benefit as gamers to play with all these cool toys and actually see that difference of when something is in that resolution, the crispness and that sharpness, it just ratchets up the realism one more notch.
The PlayStation 4 Pro also has more rendering and processing power in there. How does that help you guys in bringing a game like this to life?
Yeah, and certainly that lets us have these different modes as well, right? That we talked about, the different rendering modes. But even beyond that, things that we can do like enhanced foliage, like better reflections, things we can do there. More tessellation, so the surfaces are smooth, are actually curvier than they have been. So we have I think we'll actually do a video kind of diary somewhere down the road and go into more depth on the technology, but overall, we've been able to push things that we haven't been able to do before because of Neo.
The other thing that was highlighted during the PlayStation meeting was the emotional impact on characters. Can you talk about how you feel that impacts Lara Croft?
That's awesome. That's a great question for us. Certainly, when we just made Rise of the Tomb Raider from the beginning, everything we did just making this version of it from last Tomb Raider in 2013 to now, we added a better hair dynamic simulation. So every strand is actually physics animated and actually moves across her naturally. We added better lighting, we added a lot of more depth particles, and now with the characters, in the first game, in Tomb Raider, she actually picked up a scar during her adventures. Now you can actually see that scar. So the idea that camera zooming in close to her face, and being able to actually see the scar that she earned from that previous game, seeing the mud and the blood and some of the things that you get to see, the details of the objects and relics you find, is something we just couldn't show before.